Well, Krista Armstrong is the International Committee of the Red Cross Press Officer for the Middle East, and she joins us now from Geneva. Krista, thank you very much for your time. I want to start by asking you, how much relief will a 3-hour daily pause in fighting actually bring the people of Aleppo?
I mean, the situation is not very clear right now. 3 hours is obviously very short. We need to be able to get in and deliver aid and assess people's needs regularly. So 3 hours is something, but it is very short. We can bring aid in, but we might not be able to carry out some of the essential repairs, for instance, to the water networks that are needed, because a lot of water and electricity has been cut off. And in the heat of summer, that's a key concern right now. So 3 hours is something, but I think what we really want to remind is two things. Is first of all, these ceasefires have to mean that we get access to all parts of the city safely, so that we're able to assess people's needs throughout the city and around the rural areas as well that are affected. And secondly, we need to have regular humanitarian pauses. So what we, the International Committee of the Red Cross, are calling for is the daily pause to be able to return and assess people's needs, and in the longer term, not just a one-off kind of a ceasefire.
And what are you hearing about how the first day has gone? Are you getting access to all parts of the city? And do you know at this stage if it's a unilateral ceasefire, or are the rebels also temporarily laying down their arms?
I mean, that's a key question. I mean, right now our teams are monitoring very closely. They're on the ground and they're ready to respond should there be access. But as far as the latest I have heard, is we're not having that access yet. And as you pointed out, it needs the consent of all parties. Everyone has to agree that these ceasefires or pauses will take place so that they can happen safely, and we can reach different parts of the city and impartially assess people's needs and respond to them. It's important to have any kind of respite at the moment, because the fighting these last few weeks has just been relentless and has not provided anyone with any shelter, any respite or any protection. So at this point, we're monitoring closely and ready to respond, but yes, our teams are not moving yet.
And in terms of the aid that you want to bring into the city, what is the top priority? What do people there need the most?
I mean, at this point, because nowhere is safe in Aleppo and everywhere has been affected. So we've had tens of thousands of people who've been displaced recently, many of them women and children. The last week, we've seen our colleagues are describing people sleeping in parks, people sleeping on the streets. So they're in a very vulnerable situation. We've been providing, some tarpaulins and food to people who are displaced. But on top of everything else, recently in the past few days, there's been the main electrical network has been hit and damaged. So that means it's affecting the water pumping system. So people don't have access to mains water anymore. And that in the heat of summer is particularly concerning. So we've been water trucking daily water for about 70,000 people to try and, alleviate this. But obviously it's not a sustainable situation. We've highlighted before, and we'll do so again, the medical situation is alarming too, because none of the facilities have been hit. Others are struggling to cope with the influx of casualties because people are dying, people are being killed. We've had hundreds of people killed in the last week, and many more have been injured. So they're really struggling to do that. So we really need to get to hospitals to be able to deliver supplies, particularly in some of the parts most affected, as urgently as possible.
I do want to come on to the medical situation. You've touched on it there, because doctors in the city are calling for a no-fly zone. They've pleaded to US President Barack Obama for that. Do you echo those calls? And what conditions are medical workers enduring right now?
I mean, we can understand the call, absolutely. They're dealing in a very difficult, extremely difficult situation where they're not safe, they're not protected to do their work, and they're not getting relief either, because people are working around the clock. Doctors are not getting, there's no shift system anymore because they're overstretched. So they're working extremely difficult conditions. Obviously, patients are struggling to get to facilities because of the lack of safety on the roads to get there. So we would say that at this point, there needs to be better protection. How that's protected is that all parties need to better respect the laws of war and really distinguish between civilian and military targets. So hospitals and all civilian facilities need to be better protected, and that's what we would urgently stress and needs to happen.
Okay, Krista Armstrong, thank you very much for talking to us.